hope that's not part of their compensation.
There you go, we're good.
Free Slurpees.
7-Eleven. Oh yeah, 7-Eleven.
We're live. Yeah, free Slurpees. I said, I hope that's not part of your compensation.
Wait, who has free Slurpees?
7-Eleven.
You know, I made them move that Rosemary last time over here. Last time I got it over here, so they had this. Everybody. You can see everybody, it's so high this time. Sometimes it's actually the funny things.
Yeah, so much that I've been trying to.
Are you ready? All right. Well, welcome back. Today is July 11th. I hope you're feeling better, Dr. Green.
Thank you very much.
I did want to say a couple things before we begin today. Some of these things I've said before, and I want to make it clear that I'm not necessarily directing these remarks at your team. I'm directing them at Superintendent Mullins, Board Chair Misty Belford, Matt Susan, Jennifer Jenkins, Cheryl McDougall, and Katie Campbell. Once again, I will remind everyone that Florida ranks 48th in average teacher salaries. Our teachers, who are the third most experienced workforce in the state, are $1,600 behind the state average. That clearly puts us at amongst the worst paid teachers in the entire country. Here on the Space Coast, our teachers are amongst the worst paid teachers in the entire country. Those are facts. That's all there is to it. We're 3 weeks out from the start of school. We have nearly 200 vacancies. Nearly 200 vacancies a few weeks out from the start of school. We saw, unfortunately, despite our teachers' hard work and effort, our district performance is slipping. And I will continue to sit up here, stand up in front of the board, and say these things. What our leadership is doing is not working. We need changes. It would behoove this entire community if you started listening to the people doing the work in the classrooms and their representatives. Because what the superintendent is doing, what the school board is doing, is failing our community at this point. Last week, we saw Lake County settle their contract for next year with large raises. A couple weeks ago, we saw Orange County settle their contract with large raises. I noticed at the last school board meeting that you guys had no problem giving the school board district attorney a 4% raise going on for the next several years, each year. I guarantee you I can find an attorney quicker than I could find 200 teachers. I'll find you an attorney within a week. I don't think you're going to find those 200 teachers you need. I understand the issue about health insurance, but frankly, I'm over it. That was last year's excuse. That was last year's excuse. Yeah, every district now and then has an issue with health insurance that impacts raises. It cannot be an ongoing BPS excuse, because here's the deal. That's becoming a unique issue to Brevard. And frankly, that's not our problem. It's not our problem that our district is incapable of managing the health insurance fund. We've offered suggestion after suggestion for health insurance. We've sat on that committee. We've argued for years. Very few of our suggestions are ever taken seriously. You guys need to own that health insurance issue. I'm over it. I'm over it. They weren't talking health insurance in Lake. They froze health insurance premiums for 3 years in Orange. I'll say what I said before. The boss needs us more than we need the boss. Every misstep that the district takes is another 10 or 15 teachers walking out the door. And I'm not exaggerating. When after bargaining, after the stuff they see, I get the emails. You know what? I was on the edge. I see these premium increases. I'm going. I'm retiring. I'm going elsewhere. So once again, I don't want to direct that at your team. I want to make sure that you clearly understand that our district leadership, Dr. Mullins, Misty Belford, Matt Susan, Jennifer Jenkins, Cheryl McDougall, and Katie Campbell, they're failing us each and every board meeting. They're focused on non-issues that are not relevant to our classroom. They are allowing poor choices to happen over and over again. And this is where we're at. You're going to have 200 vacancies. This is not going to be an easy year for our teachers or our administrators. We're going to be struggling, potentially worse than we were last year. We all know that's the truth. I've been biting my tongue saying that, but now that we're looking at 200 vacancies with 3 weeks of school left, these teachers are going to be covering classes like crazy. We know that. We know that. Still not sure how you're going to open up one of our elementary schools with 20 vacancies. Haven't heard a plan for that. No discussion. So it's time to put the money on the table. It's time to stop playing these games. I don't know what you guys get by winning. I don't know what you get by winning. Put it that way. What is there to gain? Make our teachers work a little harder, hire a few less teachers, wear them out, have them angry, have them quitting. So I sure hope that BPS is prepared to bring a serious offer today.
Well, that being said, we brought an offer on June 3rd. You were the last one to bring an offer, and I remember your comment was, we're rejecting this, but we do appreciate the movement on insurance, and we'll be back with something today.
We have the something.
Thank you.
So Dr. Green, on this offer, we started with a tier adjustment for employees with 6 to 10 years of $750, and they extend that to 15 years. And then we adjusted the tier adjustment for our more veteran teachers from 16 to 26 years and tiered that to $1,600. We also added a performance adjustment of $2,813 for the performance scale and the grandfather scale of $2,100. And additionally, we did the same for the effective, and that would increase a new minimum base salary of $49,775. And two things we believe this does, well, three things. The first one is we're trying to use all the TSIA money in that tiered adjustment so that we're following the state statute according to what BPS has told us. Additionally, we're also trying to lower our gaps between our employee groups, so every teacher will see very similar to the same raise. We think this offer does that when we take out one-time money, when we take out the longevity. We believe that this brings most employees close to the same raise. Additionally, we believe this raise gives our teachers a substantial increase in their reoccurring funds and helps towards retirement.
I don't think we have any questions.
Okay, do you have counter offer or TA for the language about the comp time?
I do, but what about the insurance?
Do you have the documents that I requested at the end of the last meeting?
We do. I'll leave a couple of those back when it winds its way to the end of the table. I need it for it. I don't know how many we have, but I need a couple of
Can I get one before you hand them out, please?
I don't even know what we're looking at. This is a great way to do things. I got a question. I already got a question. Already got it.
would you like Anthony to talk about?
Yes.
On the first one that you have handed, that's the one that says monthly claims, will grow in 12 months. That is an outline at the top, about 12 months expenditure under our healthcare. That begins from June of 2021 through May of 2022. As you can see, it outlines what our fixed costs are, our paid claims, and an actual versus our budgeted amount. At the bottom there, the last row, you see our total that we're running. If you see the loss ratio at 105.9% on the right-hand side of the column. Then the secondary breakdown is just for the year 2022, just for the 5 months, January through May. And as you can see, we're running pretty much close to the same 109.8 versus the 109.9. So I'll give you a moment to review that.
How long have you guys had these documents?
Just got them up front.
Just got them on Friday. It's convenient.
Well, it was being prepared for SIAC, and which is the presentation that will be going out this week. So that's where this information came from.
So your budgeted amount, is this the total amount of revenue? I don't think I've seen this in this format before.
This is normally 2 sheets. It comes out every month in a side presentation. Every month that I've been here, I've seen it in the handouts. Nothing different about it. What's different about it, instead of it being on one page by itself, it's just, I'm sorry. Yeah, one page, each cutout is now, instead of, they're both together. So you're seeing them side by side. Versus in the handout for SIAC each month, you'll see one page with the rolling 12 months, and then you'll see another page with the other.
Okay, so the budget amount in the third column from the end, that's the total revenue?
That's correct. Versus our expenses.
That's actual revenue though?
Actually, what we have, what we're collecting, and based on what we have.
All right, and why isn't this broken out between the gold and silver plans?
So it can be. I didn't present that, but I can, because we do break it out in SIAC in presentation, but you weren't that granular in your request, but I can go back and pull that.
Yes, I'd like to see that.
Sure.
So, just to clarify, looking at the bottom, January through May, the plan is in the positive, nearly $1.2 million.
When you look at it from an overall perspective. And as you can see the trend, normally you start the year off kind of running a little bit lower. And then as you can see in previous years, normally you start running a little high as people are out on vacations in the summer. So you can see that began in April, May. You start seeing where spring break, you had claims from people. Normally you see people go and have procedures during time off. So you're starting to see some increase there. Document is the one that's a little bit thick, that's staple, that has a few pages to it. This is the updated COVID information that was requested to be brought back. This was received, I would say, maybe about 2 weeks ago. So the first 3 pages, I would say the first 4 is the diagnostics, kind of what we spent, remember, per month. You can see the breakdown there. On page 5, and I should have numbered these, but unfortunately I didn't. You see the prescription portion of this, and what those prescriptions look like. And the last 2 pages is just definitions to kind of guide you through the document.
So which line, is this total line, where's the total spend for COVID? For these months. Am I missing that?
So, I needed to add that, and I can go back and do it. The total combined spend for April, it's a running sheet, and it just rolls over each month. It's right at 8.4 million. I can bring the breakdown for you.
Hold on. Can you help again with that?
I can bring it. I don't have it.
No, the total.
8.4.
And what does that represent?
When you add them overall.
Since the start of COVID, since January, since.
Yes, it's the
Okay.
total. Yeah.
And so how much reimbursement has the district sought from the ARP and ESSER grants for
8.4.
the full amount?
That is what was submitted thus far, and that's what we've received thus far. We've received actually 8. The 0.4 is a little bit extra.
Now, will the 8.4 show up in the fund balance, or is that, did the district transfer that money straight into the fund balance, or did the board do that when they said they were going to put $5 million in last year? Did they use CARES money instead of their own money?
I don't know what they did last year because I wasn't here, but I can find out for you. But I do know that that expenditure goes into the pharmacy expenses, so it comes out of the bottom line.
The pharmacy?
Yeah, because it is pharmacy and COVID that one lump sum goes in there. Pharmacy and medical, I'm sorry, not just pharmacy alone.
Yeah,
Can you ask that question?
I actually
Because
already-
I think we're missing.
I actually already know the answer to it, but I want to see if you guys will actually admit to it. What the board has done for the last 2 years is they've gone to the public and they've stood up in a board meeting and said, oh, we got to contribute $5 million or $10 million to health insurance one time, and that's coming out of our reserves or wherever it comes from. But what the board has actually done is they've gone to the CARES money, and when they get the rebate from the CARES money, they supplement their amount, so they're not contributing that whole amount they originally agreed to.
I don't think
That's not accurate.
Well,
Show us
that-
it's not
show
accurate.
us it's not accurate.
Show us it's not.
I mean,
Yeah,
lived in,
I knew we were.
I lived in
missing-
Missouri. I think you know Missouri is called the Show Me State, so show me it's not accurate, because I've yet to see a document over 2.5 years that shows me it's not accurate, Dr. Green. I don't know why we do this every time. Have you seen the document?
All right, we'll see what we can do.
All right, on the last document is our updated fund balance. In the column on the left, we show what was presented earlier this year in the SIAC. So as of 1/1/21, this presentation was made to SIAC back in February, the February meeting, February 24th. And then this new column on the right is what's going to be presented this month in SIAC. So this has not been sent out yet. Again, we just received it on Friday evening, so it's going to be sent out to SIAC for review as well. So this is
So,
Antonia, so where it says revenue with the $9 million there, is that the projected new revenue?
what column or what page are you on?
Page 1, second column, second thing down. Says locked in updated forecast, beginning fund balance 11 million. And then it says revenue 9,177,000.
That is correct.
That is the projected new revenue.
Projected.
no, I think that represents the revenue that they're expected to get into the account between July 24th and July 30th, June 24th and June 30th. It's not overall new yearly revenue.
Okay.
That's why it's
But
so
this
much
is
smaller.
Yeah, it's calendar year. It's not, it's broken up, if that makes sense. So,
'Cause
it's
they-
only from 1/1 to 6/30.
They ran this report, Anthony, on June 24th. That's what it says, as of June 24th. And these are the last things that they'll do in those final 6 days when they close out the fiscal year. Because when you go below it, that starts all the projections from July forward. But I had one question. On January 1st, Locked-In suggested that the board do a one-time infusion of $6.7 million prior to June. But now it's saying that the board did an infusion of $2.7 million.
We did do one, we did one for 2.7 million, we did half of it thus far. Again, they're still working on closing out the books. They don't even have it open for me to see this yet. That is the information I have as of right now.
So is the board doing the whole 6.7 before June 30th?
It is my
Or
understanding,
is the board only doing 2.7?
it is my understanding they were going to do the full 6. Again, we don't have all that information thus far because they're still working on those books as of 6:30, a couple of 2 weeks ago.
So we don't know if the board made the infusion or not?
I am not aware of it as yet because they're still working on the books.
That's your department though, right?
No, that will be done in accounting.
Okay.
So, am I reading this correctly that the locked-in updated forecast is that we're $5 million, nearly $5 million over what's needed for the 60-day fund balance?
The 4.9,
Yeah.
That would be the balance based on what we have right now. If everything falls into place the way we think it should, because we're not gonna get the June expenditures until about this week, it's usually mid-month. So it's either Friday, because of how the timing looks, it depends on all of that. All of it kind of right in the cusp of when we're gonna get those expenses. Based on my conversation last week, we were hoping for them to come in earlier, but they still have time to drop the check.
So it seems to me that the situation has improved drastically.
That's the outlook that we're looking at right now. I wouldn't say it's drastic, because again, this is, we're in the middle of the month. We're still waiting for a whole month's worth of data to come in with claims and expenses. And that will be the month of June.
Is there any way to find out today if the board made the 6.7 million or the
We can
2.7
definitely
million?
ask.
Because those numbers are adding up.
And when I'm looking at the July 22 through June 23 revenue, is that including any potential premium increases?
Yes,
Yes.
but a different premium increase.
Where are you getting that from?
Because they changed the premium increase by 1%. Just do a comparison. Now the board's backing out of the 3.5 million, backing it down to 3 million, and they're lowering the premium increase by 1%.
Oh, I see it. Where you got that? I don't really need to look beyond June 23. It's a waste of time. Okay, so, gonna be looking for, a breakout of, silver and gold monthly claims and the specific or actual amount of COVID claims and reimbursement, as well as Kyle wants to see if the full infusion was made. So those are the three things we're looking for health insurance.
Okay, the two changes that we made to this, Mr. Calucci, are paragraph M and 6A. Our counter on both of those, the paragraph M is we keep the 8%, in the provision of 6B, we keep the 8% in schools that have more than 60 full-time teachers, and we go to 10% in a school that has 59 or fewer full-time teachers. Does that make sense? What I'm saying?
Yes.
And then on 6A, the proposal that you made was that first line supervisors would have the flexibility to approve work from home. We we've specified and clarified a little bit of that language. And first of all, the sentence previous, which I believe you proposed to us, teachers may not utilize comp time on early release days designated during pre-planning as professional development. A first line supervisor will have the flexibility to approve release following student dismissal for members of the bargaining unit on early release Fridays where the member has no supervisory responsibilities and no professional development schedule. Teachers who have been pre-approved for a full day absence on a day which first line supervisors approve release will not have their leave adjusted.
Can you clarify that last sentence?
Sure. Sometimes when principals, and like you said, we have principals that are doing this throughout the district, you know, that they've said, oh, we're redoing the parking lot today, everybody needs to be out at 2:30. There will be teachers that have been on a pre-approved absence for that day, and they'll come back and they'll say, I only want to charge 6.5 hours, I don't want to charge 8 hours. Or what, and we're saying no, because part of the supervisors agreeing to do this is it's been a difficult day, it's been a difficult week. They've already been approved for absences. They're not in the school that day. It stays as is.
So, you know, still one of our concerns with this is we brought up the situation where there was no internet down here at ESF, which has been a common occurrence this year, and one of our teachers down here was unable to do the work she needed to do because she was relying on the internet. She said, I could go home and do this. I could support the work of BPS if I go home.
Right.
And the answer was, it's got to be approved by the appropriate superintendent.
It's in there. I mean, like, this does not
But
exclude that.
this is just for Fridays, unless I'm misreading.
Yes, that's correct. It's just for early release.
So what if the
Well, because it's about student dismissal as well. So they don't have, we do not have a work from home policy. So part of the issue is putting work from home in here. We do not have a work from home policy. So this is about early release Fridays, as it reads. The district does not have a work from home policy, so I don't believe that we have the authority to allow principals or first line supervisors to have people work from home.
But I don't really care about the policy. I care about our contract, and I care about using common sense. And common sense says if there's no AC in the building, there's no internet in the building, let them go work from home. Common sense also says you have 200 vacancies. Common sense, research says people are looking for more flexibility in the workplace. So you guys, this is what I'm saying, you're digging your heels in, but Dr. Mullins is making bad decisions for this district. That is a bad decision to be so inflexible about working from home when they have the opportunity to do so, and especially under extenuating circumstances. It's just a bad decision, and I'll sit here in 2022 and people will look back and go, I can't believe the district wouldn't go for that. I mean, this is the way of the modern workforce. They need the opportunity to work from home, especially on these extenuating circumstances. Kyle?
Dr. Green, I just want to highlight two things. One, it's very interesting that BPS cannot adjust at all. Rather than saying like our teachers can work from home, the employer is like, no, we don't even want that, just go home. And the second thing is, last week I was bored, I'm looking on usajobs.gov. Those are all government jobs. You want to know what half of those jobs had to them? You should go look for yourself. Some of you guys might leave tomorrow when you do. Half of those jobs had work from home, work from home, work from home. These are all government.
Jobs are that we're not a public school district.
Whoa.
We're a public school district. We serve kids who come to school every day.
Dr. Green, you're getting to the day where you're going to be the principal, the teacher, the superintendent, and the school board member, because nobody's going to be left here to do the public education because we can't adjust to a new workforce.
And kids are going to be sitting in front of me because we don't have the opportunity for kids to go to school from home in our
Dr. Green, that's not what
traditional
we're advocating.
school.
That's not what we're advocating for. Nobody at our side of the table has advocated for us to teach from home. Nobody has. I'm pretty sure our teachers have said the opposite for the last 2.5 years when you asked our teachers to be on Zoom and in front of students at the same time. When our teachers adjusted, there was no policy for hybrid education either. I didn't see a policy. Have you seen one yet?
Yes, I believe we had an emergency policy written before everybody came back.
Okay, an emergency policy. 2.5 years later, I think it's time we make some adjustments. Nobody here is advocating to teach from their house. What people here are advocating for is to be treated like professionals and adults that know how to handle their profession. And when they don't, if a principal determines a teacher slacking off, there's a way to deal with that. But it's just
So can I just go
unbelievable
back
that
and-
there's no adjustment.
So can I go back and say something that I said way back, probably the third day of bargaining? Let's get rid of every reference to comp time in the contract. Because you can't have it both ways. You can't be accruing comp time every time you have to put in 10 extra minutes and then want to be able to leave early. You know, it's, if you want to talk about professionalism is professionalism. And if an IEP meeting goes over, why are we paying comp time? Because it's professional to sit and complete that IEP meeting. That's what the professional thinks, to sit and complete that meeting. But if you want comp time for it, then there seems to be something in the argument here.
Me either.
I'm sorry. You know, so it goes both ways.
Well, I mean, do we want to have the argument that whether we're hourly or salary employees? Because you guys want it both ways too. You want us to be salary, and then you want us to be hourly when it's in your interest. So,
Well, that is a much larger discussion about how to frame the hours in the contract and all those sorts of things, because that would require a total and complete rewrite. But we thought we were offering something that was something you know, when we first started talking about this concept about the need for flexibility versus the need for professional development, we were really focused on comp time and early release Fridays and district professional development, and now we're expanding to work from home.
no.
So it's kind of changed, and we thought we were offering something, since you asked about first line supervisors being able to make the decision. We thought we were right there where you
Well,
wanted to be.
what about that situation I'm describing? Internet's not working, sit here and wait for the internet to hopefully come back on. Is that the most efficient use of taxpayers' money for that employee? Or is it to allow that employee to go home and do the work that's needed?
So I'm not the supervisor of that employee, so I can't respond as to what other sorts of things there would be. But I can say that when we have had situations where there's been no water in the school, where there's been air conditioning gone out, I know we have been flexible, and we've even had to.
Well, the air conditioning things, you've been flexible because we fought like hell to fix
Absolutely.
that.
So I can't speak to that one situation. I am happy to call and get the rationale for that and to see what else was involved in making that decision. I'm happy to do that. Like I said,
Well, I'm going to be honest. I'll tell you what the rationale was. Dr. Mullins doesn't like people working from home. That's the rationale.
I can't respond to that. I don't.
Dr. Green, can I
But
just
again,
ask
I
one
thought we
clarifying
were
question?
responding to what our discussions have been and what you were
I
asking here
understand that,
today.
but I'm asking you specifically about like that emergency sort
Let
of.
me, can I do a little research? Because I didn't research that specific.
Dr. Green, can I ask another question? Would this language apply to anybody in Melissa's department?
Yes, Melissa is the first line supervisor.
Okay, but it says, I'm just asking because I've heard this argument before. It talks about no supervisory responsibilities, and I've heard before, well, oh no, those teachers never have that responsibility, so this doesn't apply to them.
No,
So this would apply to teachers at ESF as well.
yes. And I thought that was your intent when you passed the language about first line supervisors across. I thought you were going beyond the building level and saying
Well,
principals.
I think we were, but
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
we.
be honest, Dr. Green, we've had that argument go the other way against us a few times in the last year, so.
All right.
So, Will Hawkins will respond respond about money, you'll respond about insurance, and you'll respond about this.
I'd like to see that additional information before we respond about insurance.
Okay.
All right, how long do you think will be?